welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. It's time for another installment of the feedback loop, my opportunity to respond to some of the comments left on videos during the past week. As always, I thank you for taking the time to leave your thoughts wherever you've listened to the show, as it's an important part of the dialogue for all of us fans to see what each other think. So let's jump into the videos from the last week. First up is going to be Ken's Vinyl Minutes. Last week he featured The Elder. Are we worthy? We sure are. We're Kiss fans. We're special. So let's go through some of these comments. Charles Bronson, Paul being a hand model kind of reminds me of that episode of Seinfeld where George becomes a hand model. Okay. Another comment from Charles Bronson. The elder is a concept by which we measure our pain. Oh, ripping off John Lennon there a little bit, maybe. So, Daniel Bowden, the crazy thing is that the Elder photo session were exactly 5 years after the New York City Empire State Building pictures. Yeah, that kind of really sets a perspective for that whole change that Kiss underwent. Midlife crisis, if they say a band's life is often 5 years or so, then, yeah. Interesting. Joseph Kiss Sr., thanks for showing off your collection as always, Ken. Definitely enjoyed this one. Bring on the Elder box set. Don't get me started on the Elder box set. It could easily be 6 CDs, very easily. And I can't tell you why, but there's enough hints out there. Billy Shears, nice job, Ken. As a true elder 66 and a huge Elder fan, I hope I'm still around if and when a box set sees the light of day. In lieu of that, maybe an EP picture disc with the Fridays and Cruise live versions. Use the Friday shot for the cover and or the disc, and some Elder t-shirts, some original art, Japanese and Turkish covers will look great. Also the Australian 4-panel picture. Finally, do some black and gold t-shirts with the Australian button those are fantastic. The buttons that came out in Australia with the slogans on them, very cool. I can't remember the context of that. Australians chime in and correct me in the comments, please, and add some context to that. I'd buy them all and follow Mark's laundry tips to keep it. Actually, it's Daniel's laundry tips, or is it Mark? I can't remember. I know it's Daniel who's got the issues with laundry. All right, so Jay Zach's dad, interesting episode. Didn't know that there were that many versions of The Elder. The foil print is beautiful, but clearly zero thought was put into the laughable picture disc. Yeah, there's a lot of versions. I think going back to what are the key versions that I've had in my collection, obviously the Japanese version with the picture overlay is key. There's 2 versions of the overlay, one that lists the premium and one that doesn't. I never had any of the premiums other than the overlay for that, because we're talking big money now. Particularly, I think the pin's the smallest. The small pin is the insanely priced if you're able to find one. I've had a cool Canadian copy, which was a hybrid. One side of it was pressed with the adjusted mix, and the other side was the original mix. So I think there were two versions of Dark Light on that. And obviously there's not a tremendous difference between the actual sonics of either of those, but it was a resequence. And in terms of mastering, there's a very slight difference. So that was a cool one. And then I have had Eric Carr's advanced cassette of the modified, I think it was the modified mix. Again, I can't keep track of this stuff. I've got another advanced mix tape still. I don't know which one is left. I've got some in-house advanced mix tapes from A Coin, the offices. And then I don't know how well that shows up because it's black. I do have Eric Carr's 1981 Day Planner, which shows you just how many times he had to take that Porsche that he was given in December 1980 into the shop to be fixed. He also went to the hairdresser a lot and had a lot of appointments looking for an apartment. All right, moving on with the comments. Bill Phelps, I always love The Elders. In my top 5 Kiss albums, I have a couple of variations of the U.S. release and the German half-speed. They did a beautiful job on that one. As someone else has already mentioned in the comments, it'd be nice to see the Fridays performance in some manner, like an EP or something. Yeah, the rehearsals as well. Pair that up. Again, I believe the audio was captured separately. for both the performance itself and the rehearsals. So you've got at least one run through. I've never heard more than, I think, 10 seconds of the rehearsal for that. But we also know that there's an additional player on stage or off stage, somewhere in the building, doing keyboards. And that was the musical director for Fridays. Tim did quite a bit of digging into that for Odyssey. So again, there's enough for an EP. Rehearsals on one side, performance on the other. It depends on how many takes there were. I think, if I recall, again, correct me if you know better, 3 run-throughs for the rehearsals. But I lost out on that tape. It got sniped by a buddy, so it's in good hands at least. But I'd been after that, and unfortunately the gentleman died, so fair excuse. All right, M. Murphy. After working on the wall, Ezra and thinking there was enough for a concept with the Elder is pretty surprising. Completely unoriginal idea, but as a big Lord of the Rings fan as a kid, and still I was pretty happy with a fantasy-themed album from my favorite band. Yeah, I need to get back to the Audio Odyssey. I go into a lot of detail about my thoughts on the reasons what and why we get the Elder in 1981, and go check out the Audio Odyssey. It didn't get a whole lot of love, so I'll happily get a few more clicks on that if you're interested in going into the minutiae and the arcane. And I do apologize for the one episode where I used AI voices for a readout of the script, but you do the best you can. All right, keep it greasy. Keep up the good work, Ken. I like this love for Ken. He puts effort into these, so it's always nice to be appreciated. Another one from M. Murphy. Great collection, Ken. I have my original copy from the 80s, the picture disc with the hand. Agree with you on this one, kind of boring. And the German half-speed version with all the extras, which is really nice. Beautiful cover on this one. Rex Metzer, hey Rex. Very cool, Ken. I bet we see a 50th anniversary for it. Yeah, I bet we see some sort of anniversary release. I don't think we see a box. I don't think we see anything that we haven't already really seen. But I can conceptualize a few things. I mean, November is coming up, so it's too late now for any of my ideas, but there's no shortage of good ideas. Brandon Furlong, please, 45th anniversary. Yeah, it would be 45th. Thank you. Again, I can't keep track of where I am, who I am, and what I'm supposed to be doing. Clark Cruz, I remember finding this album in a record store around the time it was originally released and being so confused about the title and packaging. I thought I missed a movie, The Elder, that Kiss did, and the soundtrack for it. I didn't buy it because I thought it might be a soundtrack with Kiss and other tracks. Yeah, that's a cool one. First picture disc is cool. This is Fillmore West. The one with the hand is really lame. Like Armageddon, they're a really lame band. I have the half-speed mastered reissue with the foil cover, and it sounds really good. It's true that The Elder is a bad Kiss album, but a cool, weird prog album that I love. If it weren't Kiss, many would revere it as a lost classic. I'm not sure about that, but a box set would be fascinating, as there's a lot of interesting demos and instrumental work done around this project. Yeah, there's some atrocious stuff as well that'll make you cringe if you ever get to hear it. It's really shocking, but some really fantastic stuff as well that hasn't been out yet. But there's no live stuff other than the 3 songs on Fridays. There just isn't enough stuff. Now, I have never heard the Creatures of the Night rehearsals for the tour, so I don't know if they knocked around with any songs potentially at that time. I would doubt it, but again, I can't speak to that as I've not heard it. I did see a list that came from Eric Carr that did include songs from that album in potential songs. It's in the whatever that book's War Machine, that one. All right. Strange Ways, We Are Not Worthy, Elder Rules. Marcus Almighty, I consider you a good friend and the most optimistic Kiss fan ever, but there's no way in hell that they will ever release an Elder box set. Mark, you're such a killjoy. It's an okay album at best, but it's truly a terrible Kiss album. And that clear vinyl reissue sounds pretty good, but it's still the Elder. Yeah, and Ken, of course, had to pimp the Odyssey book, which is still available. It's as low priced as it can go these days. Very thin there, but don't forget, it's not my book. It's Tim's book and my book. He did the most of the work, and I just contributed some interstitial connective tissue. All right, let's move on. Merch alert, Beth 50. I thought this was going to be a bloodbath, and well, let's find out. Rex Metzer, it's nice that they made the single available all by itself. Yeah, that is a key. Bill Phelps, glad to see the record sold separately. The jacket is pretty cool, too. The acorn is spinning. It's nice Beth is getting the recognition it deserves. Absolutely. We'll leave out all the... I'm going to leave out the negativity. I want to keep this positive. P. Gavin, 93-96. Beth was also best represented, I think, on the Casablanca singles box set from 2012. Yeah, I no longer have that, so I can't remember what it might be. Ace Diamond Experience, I still have both versions of the 45 RPM 7-inch single from 1976 of Detroit Rock City and Beth. Yeah, started out as DRC on the A, and they flipped it around. And there's also a separate Beth 1 promo. Beef, I Hear You Calling. Yeah, a little play on words on the Italian title. I'm not a big fan, and this is Rick's V Spinner. I'm not a big Kiss fan per se, but I am of their producer, Bob Ezrin. In addition to being a producer, Bob Ezrin is a musician. Who do you think plays piano on Beth? Yeah, Bob. Bob is a genius. He's not just a musician, he's a freaking genius. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone saddle any of that with baggage. Bob Ezrin is a genius. Full stop, period. Eat it, Mark. All right, let's move on to the main show for this week. Actually, let's do a little commercial break for this one, because late breaking news is a book's imminently about to hit. I'm not going to show you the cover yet because everything's not quite in place, but finally approved. And if you see the spine there, that's been the bane. This was supposed to come out last month. Technical difficulties, a plethora, depending on your pronunciation preference for that word, of technical issues, leading me to have to learn PowerShell. Well, I already know PowerShell, but how to utilize PowerShell to readapt a Microsoft Word document, because again, I am incapable of using InDesign. I'm an idiot. So that's going to be hitting the streets very soon, and I'm just glad that that one's done. That's been quite a few years in progress, and hopefully it'll be a magical experience for everyone to relive. All right, so episode this week was the time machine. The concept behind the time machine was just to spin the dial back, pick a random year, and check out some of the topics on the FAQ to see what we were talking about, and it happened to be 2016. Unfortunately, concept is better than execution, because trying to go back in time on that software was a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I thought I had a custom plugin I could just use to say, hey, get all of Mark's posts from 2016, and then he can pick and choose some that he participated in, but couldn't make that work. So I cherry-picked some topics, and we got into it. So let's see what people thought. My favorite part of that tour 10 years ago, and this was the Freedom to Rock tour, was Flaming Youth. Finally got to see it live. Yeah, me too. Agree. Fully agree. And that was, again, one of the high points. I think that was the first time also that I got to... Oh, no, that was 2017, Crazy Nights. Dakota Escher, the Oath riff was reused for Keep Me Coming. Yeah, so I bumped this topic on the FAQ as well, so it would get that kind of conversation from people who pick up different things when they hear a song than I necessarily do. Because, again, that topic had only ever had one response to it at the time, and it looked like an interesting one to revisit. So yeah, you get a whole lineage of other songs that are built on similar musical paradigms, because I don't want to necessarily say the same riff, because if it's been changed and molested and transformed, then you get All You Could Take, as well as Excite or Keep Me Coming. Part of one of the riffs in Keep Me Coming came from Paul's 1980 pre-solo to Black Diamond as well. So again, there's so much little strands and connections. Really neat. I'm not enough of a guitarist. I noodle around, but for someone to actually do a feature on the journey of a riff or a pattern and how it was transformed, reused, recycled, abused throughout history, I would love to see that properly done. And maybe the art of music, or The Art of Guitar, pardon me, would be a great person to do that because he's got the vocabulary and the skills to illustrate it perfectly. There was also someone else who used to post a lot of really cool guitar videos on YouTube, and I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was really fun to watch. He just, slapped down on his settee, turn on a Fender, strap on a guitar, and he played. It was just fun to watch and listen to. Sounded great as well. Not quite like Jason or Jacob DeRops, who does the Quest for the EVH tone videos, and is nearly note perfect in execution and, more importantly, feel for the Van Halen stuff. I'd love to see someone doing that for Ace, or Vinny, or Bruce. Someone again with those skills. So sorry for the tangent. JJT. The Oath and Exciter, I always heard similarities in the song also, along with Nowhere to Run and Thrills in the Night. So again, we all hear different things when we go and listen to stuff. Joseph Kiss Sr. going back and revisiting these topics in retrospect was really cool. Fun to think about what has transpired since some of these posts were made 10 years ago and all the people banned. Sorry. Have a personal moment of reflection. All right, so Go North Design, smashes, kisses, and Beths. Nice, I like that. Patty, imagine if Paul had to sing every song. He basically sings 8 or 9 songs. Gene sings the rest, other than Eric for 1 or 2. Look at the Anaheim show. Paul sings 6 songs in full. It's 14 actual songs. Amazing what they got away with. Yeah, amazing how long Paul went. Or it was, imagine if Paul had to sing every song. So, yeah, he got a break. He usually got a break dependent on the era, with Peter and Ace. Gene, obviously, has always taken a good portion from the pie. Eric Carr was always game to sing more, wanted to, and did start to, at least live. Black Diamond, Young and Wasted. All right, Ghost Musicians Union, Keep Me Coming and Get All You Take sound closer to the Oath, with similar guitar pull-offs minus the galloping, then Exciter. So yeah, now we get a little bit more of the technical side of things with the pull-offs, hammer-ons, palm muting. Let's talk vibrato. Okay, I'm just throwing out words. Then Exciter. So yeah, the galloping part of it is what I focus in on, but there's a lot of nuance to the elements that echo between these. Jordan, SKOL, CD's better than vinyl. Vinyl is a scam. Yes and no. Vinyl does have a natural warmth to it. CDs certainly do have sonic clarity. Both, to me, have their role and their position. I do not like the new economic model of vinyl, which is a scam. But I do still like going into record stores and buying $3 LPs from the 60s and 70s and spinning those suckers as a cheap way to get the music versus listening on Spotify or iTunes or YouTube to get that original experience, which, again, I grew up in the cassette generation, so I've got no stones to throw. Final comment for today, Patty. No one other than Kiss Freaks cares about the Anaheim release. It won't chart. It should have been released right away, not after a 2-month lag. People have already forgotten about it. I challenge you. I say that people have not forgotten about it. I challenge you that there is enough of a PR push behind this one this time that it's going to get wider visibility. Is it going to be a Taylor Swift? Heck no, I don't expect it to be. Is it going to do better than most Kiss releases? Absolutely, I think it will. They have some PR lined up with Gene and Paul throwing out the pitch at the Angels game in conjunction with it coming out. No doubt there'll be a bit of press. What I'm most happy with is the effort that they've been putting into it. But frankly, I don't care if it is a success or not. I hope it's enough of a success in one way. And that's for the bean counters, and that's the economic suit and ties who make the decisions and have to look at balance sheets to decide whether future products are going to be worth it and projects. I hope it meets whatever they need for them to say, okay, let's do another one. That's what I care about. Do I care if Joe Schmo, who handed in his Kiss Army card in 1994, buys it? No. Would I like someone who has handed in their Kiss Army card in the past to see it and get excited and say, oh, wow, that looks cool. I'm going to get that. It's only $13.98. I'm in Walmart right now. I can buy it. I don't have to get, oh, wait, there's a box with a book. There's again, I hope it does. I have no expectations other than my own satisfaction and enjoyment, and hoping that from the business perspective, that it's deemed a success. So I worry about me. I don't worry about you. No, I do hope you're happy. What's Ken got to say on that? I haven't forgotten. I'm excited to hear it versus the original boot that I used to own that sounded like crap. Yeah, and again, when you go back and listen to something with new ears as a new experience versus what you've listened to for decades is an interesting experience that doesn't always work out. But I think when you look at it and read a book and flip the pages and maybe look at some cool cover art and all the packaging and just the moment, I'll take that for the win. All right, that's the feedback loop for this week. Thanks a lot for joining us or joining me. As always, chime in with your comments and your thoughts. I love to follow up on these, and it's really fun to get the opportunity to do so. Thanks for your support. Oh, look, you're still here, watching or listening. We're not sponsored, monetized, or supervised. We're only in this for subs and likes and kicks. So why don't you mash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment about today's episode.